Welcome to Smart Cherry's Thoughts. This is Sai from India.
Firstly, thank you very much for coming to my show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I've gone through your profile. I can see you're doing great work. So I thought to tell about your work to my audience.
Absolutely. What do you want to know?
So I thought to tell about the service that you're providing to the world.
Sure.
So can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Absolutely. I'm Cassandra Williams. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm based out of Colorado in the United States. I provide psychotherapy services. So I'm a therapist and I specialize in trauma informed care.
What made you to come into this?
It was kind of a journey. So I ended up in social work and had plans to either work in the schools, started out doing addictions counseling while I got my master's degree to be a school social worker. And I just noticed when I was doing internships and stuff like that in the schools that there was this really big need for more trauma educated care. So I switched directions and got into therapy.
So what exactly makes you to be excited about your job?
I love connecting with people. So our jobs are kind of similar that way, Sai, right? Like we both just spend time talking to people from all walks of life, which is great, as you know, and I like helping. And I find that there is a big gap in my field for approaches from what we call like a bottom up approach as far as the way that we work with the brain. And so I get really excited to connect with people and help and find a different way of healing that I think is a lot more effective.
And what you have understood doing this research and connecting with so many people.
I've learned a lot. And I think the most important thing that I've learned is that healing is really a mind body connection, right? So we can't just heal by talking as much as we would love to. We have to include our body and we have to include the outside world and get involved in healthy and safe relationships if we want to make progress.
And why human goes into this kind of a mindset or this kind of a stage.
As far as like the people I work with,
Yeah, the trauma or the negative feelings.
yeah, I mean, all types of people can end up there, and I work with all ages. So I work with ages 3 and up, all the way through adulthood, and anyone that's been through any type of life adversity is someone that I would work with. So that could be some type of abuse. It could be, we talk about war veterans a lot when we talk about trauma. It could be a event like a car accident or a natural disaster or a sudden loss of a family member or a loved one. Trauma presents in so many different ways for different people.
Is there any way to avoid this completely?
Avoid it completely?
Yeah.
Oof, I wish. I don't think so. I think unfortunately that's just part of the human experience. But what we do know as far as whether it's just an adverse or tough experience versus if it becomes a trauma or post-traumatic stress disorder, it's all about the relationships that we develop. So if we have one safe person or multiple safe people in our life that we can go to, that can connect with us, that can help us during and after these events occur, then yeah, we can avoid some of the traumatic impact.
And why this thought process or the feelings need to have a physical body?
Well, they start in our physical body. So I think that's the part that as humans we get confused about so much because we think so much begins as our thoughts, but usually our thoughts are kind of the after part.
And what is your project when you have done your master's?
So my area of focus with my master's degree is social work, and then I have a licensure in clinical social work. So it was 2 years post master's. I had to accrue hours, so 3,600 hours of psychotherapy services, and I worked in community mental health. So that's an agency that provides services to underserved populations, and we focused a lot on kids. So that was with like foster care and parent reunification and that kind of thing. So after master's, that was my initial project, and now I'm over in private practice where I'm the director here, and we specialize in alternative approaches to trauma-informed care.
And what kind of problems you hear?
Anything that starts with trauma. So a lot of areas of focus for us are abuse, whether it's physical abuse, emotional abuse, or sexual abuse, is a big problem that we're working on solving in our practice.
And at what age group you find this most?
All ages, which is hard. So some people are coming in trying to solve problems and issues that happened in, childhood in their 50s, which is super common. So it can really happen at any stage of life, and we don't have a specific age group that we work with more commonly than others.
And who involves in this more, female or male?
It's a pretty even split. I am noticing more men are seeking out therapy. So the really tricky thing with mental health in general is men are more impacted by mental illnesses, but they're a lot less likely to seek help. So it's more work to get men into the practice, but once we do, there's a lot that we can work on and that we can do. I'm actually finishing up a really cool men's therapy group right now that had some great participants. So we think about who trauma impacts. It's everyone. Who's most likely to seek therapy is definitely female.
And what influences to get into this stage?
For the clients,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people that come to see us, they get to the stage of seeking help, unfortunately, when they just can't manage it by themselves anymore. So as much as I wish it was more of a preventative venture and something that people came to do as soon as they noticed they needed it, it really does just get to a point where it's too hard to manage on their own.
And how many problems you have solved?
Have solved?
Yeah, you.
I don't know how many I've solved, Sai. I think that, I've seen a lot of clients throughout my career, and a lot of them have discharged successfully, which is wonderful, and I'm happy to see it. And the other thing about therapy is people are just in a constant state of evolution. So in my field, it's really hard, right? Because in some sense, I want to work my way out of a job because that means problems are solved and people are feeling better. And there's the flip side of the coin where it's like, but we can always continue to grow. So it's really person dependent. And I think problem solving looks different for everyone as far as whether they would define if they're problem solved or not.
And what is the different problem or a specific problem that you solved that you cannot forget?
That I cannot forget. I think probably one of the most impactful ones is around attachment. So there are a lot of foster children that I've worked with, and I've worked really hard with them on what we call attachment. So connecting and bonding and attuning to a caregiver, whether that's going back to their biological parent or integrating into a whole new family to be adopted. So I would say that is a problem I have helped solve for a lot of youth in our area, is getting them set up in their family in a healthy way, in a way that they can begin to trust their parents and the people that love them.
And as a social worker, I'm sure you might be solving problems of human beings who are from different professions in the society.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, in which profession do you think the people are getting more affected?
Oof, that is a hard question. I don't know about profession. I think socioeconomic status is a big part of it. So just where we live, who we live by, what our financial situations are, those are the people that are most impacted by trauma, or people that are in more marginalized communities. But I mean, even in my day, or I shouldn't say my day, but in my week this week, I will see medical doctors. I have some attorneys that come to work with me. I have school teachers. I have people that are unemployed. I have people that are more blue collar, like truck drivers, that kind of stuff. So really every profession you can imagine has walked through my door, which is really cool.
And this is same for every human who are living in different parts of the world.
I believe it is. I think the type of trauma is different, but the way that our body and our brain responds to it is all the same. The World Health Organization actually has a really cool study out on it that just kind of explains, regardless of what the trauma is, we all are impacted similarly, regardless of where we live in the world.
And why humans have emotions?
Why do humans have emotions? That's a big one. They have tried to get it down to a very specific part of our brain, but we haven't really been able to do that. So some clinicians will talk about the right side of your brain, and other people will say it lives in your hippocampus, right? But really, when you look at a human or any kind of mammal, we do all have emotions and feelings. So although we can't pinpoint the exact tiniest part of the brain or neuron or whatever is going on that we have emotions, we all have them. Humans, mammals in general have them. And it's something that shows up in our body. Like when you think about feeling happy or sad or excited, but if you really tune in, you can feel it in your body too, right? You know where it is. So for me, the focus is less on the why and more on the how can we make it work for us instead of against us.
And is this because of imbalance between logic and emotion?
It can be. That can definitely be something people work on in psychotherapy.
And like you said in the before answer, you said you worked with different professions, human beings. So different professions, their work in some of them need to be very logical in their work. So how do you solve problem for them? Is it easy or is it hard to find
It's
solutions?
harder. It's harder. So the more logical you are, the harder therapy is. Because you are so used to, when you're in that mindset, you're so used to like the black and white and A plus B equals C, that it gets really hard to sit with someone like me and be in the abstract and think about your feelings and live there. So I would say the more logical professions, like, my clients that work in tech or in finance, they have a harder time with a lot of these concepts than my clients that are artists or stay-at-home parents or doing those types of functions.
And you said this happens mostly in relationships and it goes
Yes.
extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any particular things that makes things go wrong?
In relationships in general,
Yeah.
I think we all bring our own stuff to a relationship, which brings it back full circle to coming to psychotherapy, even if it's not trauma therapy, just going to any kind of therapy. What makes relationships worse or more dangerous is when we lack self-awareness.
And every human needs this psychotherapy.
I think so. I think every human can benefit from some kind of therapy. So it could be psychotherapy or occupational therapy. Movement is therapy, right? So running, walking, yoga, whatever it is. But I think everybody needs a healthy emotional outlet.
And whenever there is imbalance, you will be making it balance with your therapy.
I sure try.
And is there any problem that you didn't or cannot solve?
Yeah, there's lots of problems I can't solve because the hard part about working with humans is it's messy, right? So we have this phrase that we use in therapy a lot just about the idea of meeting your client or your patient where they are. So if they have a problem they aren't ready to solve, I can't solve it.
And what is your motivation or inspiration to come into this study?
I think my biggest motivation when I kind of fell into this work is just recognizing how hard life is without this kind of support and how much more fulfilling it can be with it. So my inspiration is to really meet people with whatever they're dealing with, wherever they're in, and get them to a place of healing where they can not only enjoy relationships with other people, but enjoy being in a relationship with themselves again.
And this internet and technology is making humans to feel different. How it is affecting?
Technology in general, I mean, there's great parts and there's hard parts, right? I mean, when we think about something like TikTok or Instagram Reels, it is these instant bursts of dopamine, one of our happy chemicals, and it makes it a little bit too easy for us to get dopamine, which can actually set us up for more feelings of depression down the road. Andrew Huberman has a podcast, Huberman Labs, and they talk a lot about dopamine there and a lot more well-versed than I am, but that would be a great one for your listeners to check out. Also, though, technology is making things like psychotherapy so much more accessible because, you and I are just on our computers talking like this. I could totally do a session this way, and I do. So technology, especially during COVID, made it so that people didn't have to stop going to therapy.
And is it possible to connect with humans through this technology and manage their energy?
I think it's possible. It's not my favorite. I would much rather be in person with someone, but that's a preference, right? It doesn't mean it's impossible. I think that technology gives us so many opportunities for connection and some degree of energetic exchange, even if it's maybe not to the level it would be in person.
I'm sure in your study you might have gone through a lot of examples before, and the previous years, how humans was there and how they used to manage their psychological things. And what is the difference that you are observing, in previous generations and now?
Previous generations didn't look for help. And so a lot of the reason people are in trauma therapy now is healing stuff that was passed on to them for generations and generations. So we're talking about multi-generational trauma. Their parents didn't deal with their stuff. Their parents didn't deal with it. But when we look at the study more as a discipline and the way this field has changed, trauma-informed care is really on the cutting edge and alternative methods of healings and psychotherapy when you look at the research, because it is all based in the autonomic nervous system and mind-body connection. And I mean, psychedelics have entered the chat when it comes to trauma-informed care. So there is so much to unpack about as a discipline, the way that the field is moving from, like the days of Freud when you laid on a couch and didn't look at the person that you were talking to.
And is it possible for humans to manage their emotions or control their emotions and control their energies if they are educated?
I believe so. Absolutely. It's all about, feeling your feelings, but not letting them control you.
And but what if it comes from other outside source?
Mm-hmm. It's still all about controlling your reactions, right? You can recognize the feelings, see that the outside source is causing something, and manage your own reactivity to it using regulation skills and accessing your social supports, your safe people. And if you don't have safe people, all the more reason to get into therapy so you can learn how to do that regulation for yourself.
And the services that you're providing, can you explain it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do the traditional talk therapy kind of thing, what you and I are doing right now. I also offer EMDR, which is really popular in trauma care right now. It stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I offer different inner child healing stuff like internal family systems. I'm part of the Neurosequential Network by Dr. Bruce Perry. And so what the model of therapeutics does is, again, just examining the way that the brain functions for a different lens to psychotherapy. I offer a lot of relational work, so just showing up in the safety of a relationship, somatic experiencing, so body-based work. It's kind of a grab bag when you come in here. So based on what the person needs, that's what I'm going to provide.
And when a person can know that he or she is in a in a wrong or bad stage and they need your support.
When will they know?
When they can understand.
Sorry, you broke up again. What was that?
When they can understand that they are in a bad or in a wrong stage and they need support from you. Is it possible for them to understand that they are in a negative situation or negative feeling, or they're thinking in a negative way?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the part that I had mentioned earlier is usually people come in when they just notice they can't handle it anymore. So that overwhelming depression or anxiety, it might be nightmares or flashbacks. And it doesn't have to get that bad. It could just even be that feeling of like, hey, I really need someone to talk to. And that's when they know to come in, right? So it doesn't have to be the worst case scenario of like flashbacks and night sweats and disassociation. But a lot of the time it does take things getting that bad for people to come find me.
And usually, how much time it takes for them to get change their behavior or their emotions or feelings or their thinking process after coming to you?
Yeah, it's very person dependent. So if we are doing complex trauma treatment, we are usually looking at anywhere from 3 to 12 months. So if we do an intervention like EMDR that I had mentioned, that can be a 3 to 5 session, so a 3 to 5 week ordeal once reprocessing starts. If someone is looking for more of that relational connection and ongoing support, that's when we might look at something like 9 months to a year.
And bonding, which is very important in humans' life. So the majority of the problems that they face because of this. So why humans need to have connections and bondings, and why they need to go through all these negative things?
Yeah, that is such a big question, right? I think the easiest way to look at it is just to think about us as social animals. So we, very similar to a lot of other animals in our ecosystem, require connection to live. And just from like an anthropological lens, we require it. That's just part of our nature.
And what about other animals, wild animals or domestic?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at wolves. They travel in a pack, right? It's funny. I was actually looking at videos with my daughter just the other day of different animals protecting their babies. So we were watching like a lioness and an elephant and all this stuff. I mean, if you look in the wild at animals really at any point, you'll see exactly what we're describing, that need for connection and those instincts for protection and self-preservation. And then if we look at domesticated animals, I mean, think about a dog. Right? They love being around us. They need us. I'm not much of a cat person, but I'm told even they will come home and want to be around their people too.
And what do you say about people, I mean, humans who are connected with animals, that bonding?
I love that bonding. I think that the human and animal bond often is one of the safest relationships that we can have, especially for people that are overcoming trauma and learning to co-regulate. I think it is a really beautiful relationship for us to have.
Is it important to have bonding?
Yes. Yes.
And what you don't understand about human bondings?
What I don't understand, I think it's really hard I understand why it happens, but it's really hard to watch us as humans choose pervasive patterns that hurt us. So seeking after interpersonal relationships that continue to be harmful, that's a really hard one.
And like you said, all the age group people are, coming into this. So what is that common thing?
The common thing that they all struggle with,
Yeah.
usually it boils down to like self-regulation. So just that ability to feel safe and connect with their own body so that they can control their emotions instead of letting their emotions control them.
And just now you mentioned that the safest bonding is like human and animal. So how that can be possible with a human and human?
I think that for it to be possible with a human and human, it's really important for both of the people entering into that relationship to be doing their own work and to be evaluating themselves and making sure that they are showing up in a relationship to do the least harm possible. And when they do make a mistake, being two humans that know how to make a repair. So knowing how to own what you've done and apologize for it and show up in a really authentic way.
And I can also see you observe behavior a lot in human beings. So what kind of behaviors you observe, and the problems that you solve regarding behaviors?
I think one behavior I notice a lot that isn't talked about as much is disassociation or the freeze response. So that is where people have been through a lot of trauma, and in order to protect themselves or self-preserve, they zone out or they leave their body, right? And they do this thing where I kind of call it just being a floating head, where they're completely unaware of what's going on in the rest of their system, and they kind of mentally check out or daydream or go somewhere else. That is a behavior that I notice a lot that is a key indicator to me that trauma work is necessary, especially within that mind-body connection.
And what are normal and abnormal behaviors?
So disassociation would be an abnormal one or an atypical one, right? Especially to that extent. Another atypical one would be hypervigilance or a lot of anxiety, maybe even paranoia. And then some more typical behaviors, having a wide range of feelings is completely normal. It is not bad to have feelings. It is all about just knowing that our feelings aren't facts, being able to observe what we're feeling and using a coping strategy, talking to a friend, going on a walk, drawing, journaling, whatever it might be, and learning how to just not let our emotions dictate our life, right? But we do have to feel it to heal it. So it's kind of that happy medium. So that is what is normal, so to speak. And then an atypical response is those trauma ones I'm describing. So the fight, flight, or freeze.
And I know a lot of people who are great in their professions, but not great in their personal life. What is going wrong in that?
That is a really good question. And I joke about that all the time. Like, oh no, am I going to be one of those therapists who has kids that are just wild, right? I mean, they're too little now to tell, and they're pretty amazing the way that they are. But, I think part of it is we can't control other humans, right? But I do wonder sometimes if maybe people in my field get so caught up on their work that they forget to take care of themselves. And if we aren't engaging in good boundaries and self-care, our personal lives just can't hold up.
Why do humans don't think in a similar way?
Oh, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm doing
You're a human
research.
too. What do you think?
I'm asking you. Maybe you'll have the same question.
I do have the same question. I think that's an excellent question. And I think all of these questions are challenging too, because it's so person dependent. It is so based on the individual. So I think if you find 3 different people that are dealing with the same thing and you ask all of them why, they will all have different answers. And that is what makes my job both really exciting and really hard.
Yeah, because you have took a job that is very important for every human to understand, but you're trying to understand about this in your early ages of your life, and you're helping other human beings in understanding them by knowing what they are going through. So how is this going deeper into this subject and doing research and reading books and going through different examples of behaviors of different human beings?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, and it teaches me so much about what I need to do to stay on top of my self-care and my own management and regulating my own emotions, just because what we find in the trauma research is if we don't, right? If we don't combat the symptoms that we're dealing with, there are lifelong physical implications for it, not just psychological. So it really is important to pay attention to yourself. And I think that there is that duality for me always of exploring what do I need to do for my clients that are sitting across from me, but also what do I need to do to make sure that I'm on it for myself?
Is there any particular communicating way that helps human to behave positively with everyone?
Yeah, I think that open, transparent, and vulnerable communication, those are all really key components. And the most important thing, which you're actually really great at, Sai, is staying curious, right? Asking the people around you what is going on for them, what happened to you, what is happening for you, what did you think about that? Just really getting curious about the people that you are existing around and communicating from a place of genuine interest instead of defensiveness.
And is it possible for everyone to have non judgmental behavior? and see things with the open mindset?
Probably not all the time, right? But it's possible for everyone to do that most of the time, as long as they do the work. And the great thing is when we get into that space of being non-judgmental, is it's just the idea of, you know what, you have a bad day, you are judgmental, you mess up, you make a mistake in your communication. If you surround yourself with other people that are also learning, growing, evolving, and trying to be non-judgmental, they're going to understand. They're not going to mind that you made a mistake and need to apologize and make a repair. And as a, dyad of people or as a group of people, when stuff like that happens, you can actually learn a lot from it. We learn a lot more from the mistakes that we make as humans than from the things that we do well as humans.
And humans with age between 20 to 25 or 25 to 30 and 50 plus, 60 plus or 70 plus age group, the people who are not experienced life much are going through this trauma and going through this negative feelings and negative thoughts, coming to you and taking the help to better themselves. And also people who are experienced in their life, being on this planet for more than 60 years, 50 years, still they are wanting support from you. So why they still didn't understood what works for them?
I think the way that people finally understand what works for them, unfortunately, is finding out what doesn't. Right? So just going through things and recognizing that maybe they don't have all the answers and then coming to me and going from there.
So there are people who can understand things in in their young age. People who are who are elder, who are old people, they're still not able to understand it. So why that that thinking process is different?
Oof, that is such a good question too, and there's so much to unpack there. I think that generationally, just the younger generations, I mean, even below millennials, like Gen Z are the coolest, and they are so open to mental health and therapy and treatment and self-exploration, and that just wasn't something that was normalized in like our parents' generation, right? Seeking help used to be perceived as weakness, and so really breaking down those barriers for our older generations, that it's actually strength and courage to ask for help, to be vulnerable. Because if we really look at it, being proud, easy. Asking for help, hard. But for whatever reason, that message got really switched and flopped with older generations. And so they are less likely to seek help, especially in this psychotherapy environment. They might seek it elsewhere, but not as much here, whereas younger generations are a little bit more open-minded. So it's really less about age and more about state of mind.
And how these biological things will affect these things?
Ooh, biological things are a big component. And that's when we really get into genetics and epigenetic research and how things are passed down and all of that. So it can impact a lot when it comes to trauma. I mean, I think the most common example we talk about is addiction. We talk a lot about how addiction is a genetic that can be passed down. So that's a really strong biological example.
Every human wants to be in a positive feeling and to have positive thoughts. But why this oscillation of feelings and thoughts and emotions?
Oof, yeah, everybody wants it, but it's hard to get it, right? Because I think that one thing we all need to accept is that happiness is a fleeting emotion, just like every other feeling. We cannot strive to just be in a state of happiness. We have to look for how we can be content instead of just happy or joyous, because those things are temporary. And just recognizing that a lot of the times we do have to do the work and the tough emotional labor. And if we feel our hard feelings, we can also feel the good ones so much better and bigger and deeper, because when we emotionally stunt the negative, we stunt the positive as well.
And what is the purpose of the existence of bonding and relationships and behaviors?
Well, social connection, bonding, all of that is really a key factor in developing and keeping brain function. And it also, I mean, it started when we look at humans or animals or anything like that. It's a protective factor, having other people or beings that can look out for us. So it's twofold, right? There's the protective mechanisms that come with it physically, and then there is the necessity of connection just for existing.
Is there any common factor that works for everyone or every couple to be connected for a long time?
Communication. Healthy, open, transparent communication and a willingness to be wrong and call that out and make a repair and learn from it, right? So just really, if we had to boil it down to one word, is humility.
And humans from different parts of the world, if they get connected, how that behavior will be.
I think that's so important. I think that brings us back to technology, right? Just that idea of now we have access to connecting with each other in all different parts of the world. And it offers so much for us as far as learning opportunities and just continuing to grow and evolve.
And is there any particular subject that you cannot understand in your field?
I'm sure there's a lot of subjects that I cannot understand. There is more questions than there is answers when it comes to working with humans.
And what is your recent study?
My most recent study,
Yeah.
my next upcoming study that I'm getting involved in is psychedelics. So I am about to do an immersive experience in ketamine-assisted therapy and some other psychedelic research because where I live in Colorado, psilocybin has been decriminalized. So that is my next research project, is figuring out about psychedelics and trauma-informed care. So stay tuned.
And in this social world, there are a lot of different behaviors you'll be watching and you'll be interacting with. So how do you feel? Because you're also a person with a behavior, you are interacting with behaviors.
Yeah, I am interacting with a lot of behaviors as a social work, and luckily my education and training does so much for diversity and generalist practice. So it's something that we really get prepared for as social workers that I'm really grateful for. Unfortunately, though, Sai, I'm almost at our time. I got to get to my next client. So do you have any final questions or thoughts for me?
Yeah, and my last observation, what is your observation about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
Yeah, you do so much on Instagram, which is where I found you. But also your YouTube stuff. I actually recently watched one of yours with a divorce attorney that was really interesting. And I think that you do such a great job in leading with curiosity, like we were talking about earlier. And I think that's why you are such an excellent communicator, is because you are open and willing to discuss things with all different people, different professions, different walks of life, and stay in this non-judgmental space of curiosity. And it cultivates really beautiful conversations.
Thank you very much for giving me a great observation about me on my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Cassandra. Thank you for your valuable time and sharing your work and answering to some of my questions. Can you share your web links with my audience?
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at LCSW, Cassandra says, or my website is www.bondingandbehavior.com.
Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Absolutely. And thank you again for having me. You have a happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Take care.